A buyer persona is a representation of your target customer. It's a picture you paint based on research and interviews with actual customers. It goes beyond basic demographics to include the intangible elements that make a person tick. Persona development is paramount for the success of an inbound marketing program, no matter the size or scope of your business. While personas are heavily used by marketing, they should be embraced across the entire organization. I'm Winnie Kisache from monkeypesa. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Also, smash the like button so more people can see this video. Now, buyer personas help teams allocate resources, attract leads, and understand what drives people to make purchases. They're the type of customer that remind you why you got into the marketing or sales in the first place. Personas help answer the following questions. What type of content is most likely to generate a response from a particular type of customer? How does your ideal customer prefer to engage in the sales process? What problems do customers need to solve, and how does your business help them? In this video, we'll review the nuances of personas, we'll explain exactly how to build a persona and provide specific interview questions your team can use. And we'll also demonstrate how to use them across your organization. By the end, you'll understand why personas are so important, the impact they have on your bottom line, their connection with inbound marketing, and how to create them successfully. So, why using personas is important? Persona development is a crucial first step for any campaign. No matter how large or small your business is, you want to get the most from your inbound marketing budget. Buyer personas embody the type of customer that gives you the most revenue with the least opposition over the longest period of time. Without this fundamental research, you will not truly know what attracts new leads and drives them to make a purchase, potentially leaving profits on the table. This research extends to all aspects of an inbound marketing campaign and will guide you through every decision you make. The time and effort you spend writing blog articles and white papers will pay off so much more if your content is created with a persona in mind. Now, additional reasons to use personas for inbound marketing include: number one, objectivity. It's easy to fall into the trap of assuming that you, the marketer, the salesperson, or the business owner are the target audience. You are only one type of customer. Yours is not the only persona you must reach. Developing multiple personas allows you to empathize with all your customers so that you create messages from multiple perspectives, not just your own. Number two, focus. When you know what makes your customer tick, developing the content that is likeliest to speak to him or her is easier. Without this ability to focus your marketing message, you will dilute your efforts and miss opportunities. Personas also ensure that everybody on your sales and marketing teams shares a common understanding of your customers. Number three, strategy. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is to assume that you know what your customer wants and needs. The only way to truly know this is to ask questions that help identify the gaps your product or service is able to fill. Once you know what problems your customer needs to solve, whether he or she knows it or not, you can craft more effective inbound marketing strategies. The connection between personas and inbound marketing is inbound marketing is used primarily to capture new leads and convert them to customers. An essential component of inbound marketing is the utilization of online content to attract potential customers. Many different types of content can be developed, and in many cases, marketers might target your customers by using a combination of approaches, including blog articles, online videos, podcasts, white papers, ebooks, newsletters, and social media posts. Without a comprehensive understanding of your customers, you're taking a shot in the dark with your marketing materials. Yes, you might make educated guesses that produce some positive results, but taking the time to develop personas is a much more cost-effective solution. Creating inbound marketing campaigns with personas in mind focuses your efforts and increases your return on investment. Persona development helps you determine, number one, which format will garner the best response, which media channels are likely to reach the most potential customers, the tone you should use when writing content or communicating with customers, the types of content that will attract the most new leads, the calls to action that will generate the best response rate. So, what is a persona? What's not a persona? What's often assumed is that a persona is needed for every role encountered in the buying process, or that the focus should be on job titles or roles, or that the terms buyer's journey and buyer's persona are interchangeable. All these are misconceptions. Buyer personas are not roles, market segmentations, or the actual buyer's journey itself. Instead, buyer persona development is intended to glean insight from situations and scenarios. Buyer personas helps you understand your customers in the human-centric way. Their goal is not to profile, rather it's all about uncovering behaviors. Ultimately, the aim of buyer personas is to gain an understanding of the range of behaviors behind why people attempt to accomplish goals. So, how do you define your buyer persona? I'll give you 5 steps. Defining your buyer personas might seem like a big unwieldy task, but if we break the process down into manageable steps, you can move through them one by one to develop thorough, thoughtful buyer personas that will genuinely improve the way you market and sell. And don't feel like you have to create all of your buyer personas at once. Taking it step by step is a great way to make sure you've got all your bases covered without feeling too overwhelmed. This guide to defining your buyer persona is a setup so you can leave and come back whenever is most convenient for you. With that in mind, let's get into step 1. Step 1 is research your buyer personas. Now, all great personas start with a little bit of research. Even if you feel like you already have a pretty good grasp on who most of your clients are, it's worth it to take a hard look, not just at who you're already working with, but who you'd like to work with in the future. Who is buying from you? It's always easiest to start with what you know. Begin your research by taking a look at your existing clients. Here are a few things or a few questions to get you started. Number 1, who at their company contacted you first? Were they the final decision maker? What does their job look like? Are they your company's primary point of contact? What are their roles at work? Do they manage people or processes? Do they have to answer to a boss, supervisor, or do they make most decisions? What does their home life look like? Do they have any hobbies? How old are they? Are they married or are they single? Do they have kids or no kids? These questions will get you started, but there are a few other tactics you might consider when doing buyer persona research. Like, talk to customer-facing employees. Your account managers are going to have the best insight into the lives of your clients since they're the ones in direct contact with them. Talk to the customer-facing employees at your company to get a better sense of the people your company is already working with. Next is talk to your clients. If it's feasible, it's also a great idea to talk to some of your existing clients. Consider sending out a short survey to your main points of contact, asking them a little about themselves. You might have to send a small incentive to get them to fill it out, but their answers will be worth their weight in gold. After all, the people who have already invested in your product or service are your ideal audience. Who would you like to buy from you? Once you've pulled together as much information as possible on your existing clients, think about who you would like to sell to in the future. Is there an ideal prospect that your marketing and sales team just can't get to convert? Maybe your competition has had a lot of success in a certain segment of the market that you'd like to break into. To narrow down who you'd like to buy from you, we suggest starting by taking a look at your competition. So, where is your competition seeing success? Are your competitors seeing a lot of success in a certain segment of the market you'd like to break into? Check out their website. They're probably developing content and sales offers that speak directly to that market. You can learn a lot about those ideal buyer personas you're not quite hitting yet by seeing how your competition is successful. Then, where do you want your company to grow? Another great way to identify buyer personas for clients you haven't quite snagged yet is to think hard about where you want your company to grow. For example, we often work with home builders, many of whom are working to break into higher markets. Even if they don't yet have clients in that higher market, we still work to do as much research on those buyers as possible. We look at our clients' competition to see what they're doing to draw that market in. And we look at those buyers specifically to see what they're most interested in and what their greatest pains or pain points are. You can do the same thing for your company. Look at the clients you'd like to get in the near future and do the same research to see what they're interested in, what their lives are like, and what challenges they face that your company can solve. Step number 2 is segment your buyer personas. So I'll be honest, the research step is the most time consuming. Once you have that out of the way, feel free to step back and take a break. Leave that research alone and let it marinate for a while. When you come back, you'll have everything you need to actually start writing your buyer personas. Organize your information. Now that you're back, refreshed and ready to continue work on these buyer personas, it's time to organize all of the research you collected. You probably learned a lot about a variety of your clients. Start looking at similarities in the goals and challenges you've uncovered in your research. These similarities in what clients and prospects are looking for from your company or your products will help you group all of the many potential clients into distinct sets of buyer personas. Decide how many buyer personas you'll have. Now that you've reviewed and organized your research, you can start to determine how many buyer personas you'll actually define. It's good to remember that you don't have to cover everyone right now. If you're just starting the inbound marketing process and are new to buyer personas as a whole, it might take or make the most sense to create buyer personas just for the market segments you sell to the most. You can always add or change buyer personas as you learn more about marketing strategy and as you gather more data on your leads and prospects. The way you segment your buyer personas is totally up to you and to your company. You know best who you're in contact with most. But if you're not quite sure where to start, here are 2 very common ways to segment your buyer persona. You can segment them by industry. Some companies work with clients in a variety of industries. In a situation where you sell a variety of products, each corresponding to a different industry, it might make sense to dedicate one buyer persona to each industry you serve. It's good to remember that this is only worthwhile if clients in each industry have different goals or pain points. For example, let's say you manufacture a product that's useful for both the automotive and marine manufacturing industries. If your clients in the marine industry have different goals than the clients in the automotive industry, it makes sense to have 2 buyer personas. But if the product helps both marine and automotive manufacturers in the same way, by helping them streamline processes, manufacture more efficiently, and develop a better product, then it probably won't make as much sense to segment your buyer personas by industry. So in that case, let's look at the second way we often see clients segmenting their buyer personas. This is buyer personas by job title. For many companies, their sales processes remain the same regardless of the industry they are working with. Even though clients in each of those industries are fundamentally different, they approach finding a marketing partner in the same way. Let's say you manufacture a product that is useful in a variety of industries, but that is most often used by a lead engineer at any company, regardless of the industry. In this situation, it doesn't make sense to have a buyer persona for each engineer in each industry because they have the same goals and pain points. Instead, you can write one buyer persona and then use that buyer persona as a guide when you write content that's specific to each industry later on. Now I know you're tired, but take a look at this funny picture and then come back. Step number 3 is create a name and a story for your buyer persona. So you've completed your research and you've decided which buyer personas to start with. Pick one and let's get writing. Everyone writes differently, so do what works for you. I always find it easiest to paint a full picture of your buyer persona and then pull out the most important segments for the final persona you share with the rest of your team. Here's what the process might look like. Who is your buyer persona? Start by giving your buyer persona a name. The point of defining buyer personas at all is to help you market and sell more personally. Giving your buyer personas names makes it more personal. Once you've got a name in mind, start writing down everything you discovered in your research. Like, how old is your persona? What job titles might they hold? Where do they live? What hobbies do they have? And what do they like to do outside of work? What are their career goals? Are they looking to move up or just hoping to cruise through to retirement? Answers to all of these questions and any more that you can think of help provide context for your buyer persona's goals and motivations. The better you understand what they want and why they want it, the better you'll be able to interact with them in the future. Give yourself a full profile to work with. When it comes to buyer personas, more information is always better. Challenge yourself to a free write. Set a timer for 15 to 20 minutes and write down everything you know about this buyer persona. Don't be afraid to get a little creative. People connect with stories. The more real your buyer persona feels to your sales and marketing teams, the better they'll be able to tailor their efforts to support your clients in real life. So, get to writing and see what you can do to make it fun. You can always take content out, but it's always good to let yourself get creative and paint a full picture of this buyer persona. The more content you have, the easier the next step will be. Step number 4 is focus on roles, goals, and challenges. Take a break for a second. You've just written a full creative narrative about one of your company's ideal buyers. Pat yourself on the back and grab a coffee. You've earned it. Back from that coffee break? Awesome. We're going to take a close look at the narrative you've just created and pull out the most relevant parts for your sales and marketing teams going forward. That info falls into 3 categories: roles, goals, and challenges. Roles is you have a full written picture of who your buyer persona is, what they do, and what they want. Take a look at the narrative and pull out the information that's related to their roles. This is going to be content that's relevant to their job title and their role at work, certainly, but it can also speak to their role at home or outside of work. Are they regular volunteers, parent? Do they manage people at work? All this information gives you context about what they are really great at. What's more, it tells your marketing and sales team what they do. When you know what a person does and what roles they play in their life, you can create content that speaks to these specific roles. Next is goals. That is understanding what your buyer personas want. That is the key to offering them the marketing content and self-service that will genuinely help them. Maybe your buyer persona is looking for ways to improve their business's profitability. Maybe they have a goal to move up in the company and are looking to spearhead initiatives that exemplify their leadership qualities. Conversely, maybe your buyer persona is nearing retirement and wants to do their job well without making any waves until they can retire safely. Pull out all of the goals you identified in your buyer persona's free write and organize them into a goal section. Understanding a buyer persona's goals is key to offering them personalized, helpful service. When your team understands what a persona is trying to achieve, even if it's not directly related to what your company offers, they'll be able to better tailor their methods and strategies in a way that resonates with that persona. Next is challenges. The challenges section of a buyer persona is the most important. This is where you identify the pain points of each buyer persona. And when you understand your buyer's pain points, you can work to solve them. Take a look at that long narrative you wrote for your buyer persona. What is keeping them from reaching their goals? What parts of their job are difficult? Do they have trouble selling initiatives up to their boss? Are they worried about making big investments? Are they so busy that they don't have a chance to even consider how their business could improve? Whatever their challenges, this is the place to call them out. Take the time to get specific too. The more challenges you can identify for each persona, the more opportunities you have to deliver solutions. And the more solutions you deliver, the more attractive and helpful your company is to those qualified leads. Step number 5, which is our last step, is use your buyer personas to craft tailored digital marketing and sales strategies. When you know who your buyer personas are and are familiar with their roles, goals, and challenges, you can develop sales and marketing strategies tailored to just those people who you know are excellent fits for your company. You've gone to all the trouble to make these buyer personas. Now is the time to use them. Help familiarize your sales and marketing teams with each persona. Create ad campaigns that correspond to each persona's favorite platform. Develop content that speaks to the specific pain points and challenges identified in your buyer persona. Take stock of your existing content. Does it speak to one or more of your personas? If not, make some changes. Optimize your landing pages to speak to buyer personas and in their language. Buyer personas help give you inside knowledge into the ways your most qualified prospects function. From their favorite social media platforms to the way they talk to their career goals, you know a lot about these personas and you can use that information to your benefit and to theirs. Work to create content that those personas want to read and develop sales and marketing strategies that put your buyer persona's goals and challenges at front and center. When you're writing, marketing, and selling with real people, your most qualified leads in mind, you're going to start to see some serious growth. Now, that's all we had for you today. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Don't forget to share this video with someone. You never know who will benefit from it. Until next time,